So far for every episode, I keep thinking of this moment from Breaking Bad where Aaron Paul keeps shouting, "You can't keep getting away with it!" And the person who keeps getting away with it is Craig Mazin at making such a great adaptation with so many wonderful changes. This episode has a perfect balance of retaining the best moments from the game, while also making some necessary and well-fitting changes. I can go through them chronologically, but I want to address the biggest and most impactful ones first, which are Joel and Ellie in this episode. We all know that their relationship from the game to the show is much different in that Joel is more closed off towards Ellie. This Joel isn't 100% the same in comparison to the game, and they're making a more real and grounded Joel for the TV show, instead of a superhero who kills like 100 raiders and infected throughout the game. Some people may dislike this inherent change, but I think it's necessary for the TV medium because games have the freedom of not following logic at all times. So giving Joel a new characteristic of panic attacks I think is really well fitting for this version of Joel. It makes him more vulnerable and it shows a weakness that thus makes him more human. Joel doubts himself, and the more he grows attached to Ellie, the more he doesn't think he's up to the task of taking care of her. Like, I don't think this is just Joel suddenly being overcome with age, because the Joel we meet in the beginning of the show is much more confident. Instead, these panic attacks are being triggered by him genuinely being afraid of not being able to protect Ellie, and him kind of seeing Sarah in her. This detail about his character is such a smart point to add that further punctuates how much he cares about Ellie. I think their confrontation this episode lands extremely well because there has always been friction between Joel and Ellie, and this scene is the climax of that conflict. Their dynamic up until this point was essentially Joel trying his best to avoid this type of scenario. He didn't want to become attached to Ellie given how her mission was what killed Tess, but the inevitability of their bond is the most endearing aspect of The Last of Us. Not the violence and action throughout the game as people say there's a gross lack of in the show. The characters and their journeys are what makes the story so amazing. And I may get some hate for it, but I think Joel and Ellie's arc is better in the show. I said it. Although it's not done yet, obviously. But through this road of conflict and slow buildup of them getting closer, Joel finally becoming the warm surrogate father is immensely satisfying. It feels much more earned here, and you can see Joel throughout the entire episode grapple with this conundrum, whether it be in this explosive confrontation or through more nuanced and detailed moments. Which, on that front, Pedro Pascal gave an insane performance this episode, both for him and Ellie's scene and Tommy's. Seeing him break down and be this vulnerable was really surprising to me because Joel never really gets to this point in the game. The show is able to explore a much deeper character dive of Joel, and the journey we go on with him for this episode is captivating because of how outstanding Pedro is as an actor. And Bella Ramsey essentially matches him at all times. Casting wise, they have been absolutely perfect, and I saw some people doubt Bella Ramsey early on, and I think she has more than earned the role of Ellie. For this entire confrontation and overall set of events, it plays out differently in the game. Personally, I didn't like how Ellie suddenly runs off in the video game when she overhears Joel and Tommy discussing having Tommy take her. I feel like, or at least in the show at this point, it would be a very juvenile and impractical thing to do. Especially since Ellie running off in the game leads to Joel and Tommy having to fight through tons of raiders to get to her. If anything, I feel like they kind of used that plot point in the game to introduce more gameplay, and if it was translated directly over to the show, then it would have felt weird. Bella Ramsey has been very adult-like and practical, and I can't see her here just running away, because the whole thing she's afraid of is being alone, and she'd be putting herself in danger and the loved ones that chase after her in danger too. So again, I think the change of having Ellie embracing the cold reality of Joel leaving her is more heartbreaking, and also leads to a satisfying moment of Ellie immediately choosing Joel to take her when he offers her the choice. This overall payoff is so gratifying because of the long road it took to get here. It makes you feel so warm and moved by their happy scenes together. Just them shooting targets alone I can watch for hours, and they are such an amazing duo. They can both hit the dramatic lows of their relationship while also portraying an immense sense of love between each other. For this little sequence or travel montage of sorts, I couldn't escape the infectious happiness that they were constantly exuding. And although I've seen people say that the pacing really picks up here, I think it makes for a more tragic ending from that fast pace. Because Joel and Ellie are finally on loving terms, so the fact that that is suddenly ripped away from us makes the ending land even harder. We were just given the most blissful aspect of the show, so when the creators take it away from us, it makes the ending even more depressing. Craig Mazin could have written a much longer journey for Joel and Ellie on their way to the Firefly Outpost, but I think this ending is significantly more impactful. The only aspect about the ending I would have changed would be to make the encounter with the Raiders a bit more suspenseful, but that is honestly a nitpick. The scene plays out completely fine, and anyone who's begging for more action needs to relax. Because we did just get one of the best and most insane action sequences that also happened to be original in the last episode. So pacing wise, there weren't any plot points the show necessarily skips over by speeding up their journey a bit. Along with me seeing people already complaining about how the show gets boring whenever it's just Joel and Ellie out in the wilderness together talking. Which again is just wild to me because their duo is the entire point of the show. In this episode, the writers also hit all the best bits for Joel and Ellie's dialogue in the game, like Joel saying he wanted to be a singer, and earlier on in the episode where Ellie was trying to whistle. So it feels like nothing was really left out.
Are you alright?
I'm trying to learn how to whistle.
This attention to detail and understanding of what makes the game great while also making outstanding changes really blows me away, because there's so many other smaller changes that made me love this episode more than I thought I would. Like the opening of the episode where Joel and Ellie are essentially lost, so they try to get directions from these natives. Firstly, I think this offers a more realistic angle in comparison to the game because there, the time jump drops them off right at the doorstep to the dam where they meet Tommy. So it feels very convenient to kind of have wandered into that situation instead of in the show, where it's shown that they are genuinely lost and have been searching for a while. Then secondly, the two characters Craig Mazin introduces here were surprisingly really funny. Like I love how chill the wife was given the situation, and the contrast between her and her husband was great.
Did you tell him the truth?
Yeah.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yeah.
The fact that this was just a quick one-off scene is so impressive from a writing standpoint. These two characters alone could have carried a much longer scene if they needed to. Then the next change was the circumstances of Joel and Ellie meeting Tommy's group. And really, the entire first 20 minutes is original, but the moment I wanted to address was the dog scene. I was not expecting to almost have a panic attack for this scene. This moment does feel oddly familiar, and I don't know if I'm forgetting it from the game or if it's inspired from elsewhere like a dog sniffing for drugs, but the amount of suspense here really hits you like a truck, especially since we witness most of this moment from the perspective of Joel as he's losing his shit. Again, tying back to his panic attacks, which is totally justified because I think anyone in this situation would have probably turned into a puddle. So the twist in seeing that the dog didn't smell the fungus and reveals Ellie playing with him was a major relief. Then for the last overall change that really enhances the show is the fact that we get to see Tommy's community. We don't actually get to see this area in the first game, and is an overall great setting to have all the dramatic moments play out for the episode, along with it offering a good contrast in the way Ellie has essentially grown up and has been living her life. Like the shot of her awkwardly sitting in the crowd of people watching the movie illustrates that point really well. I also want to go back to Joel and Tommy's scene since I kind of breezed over it given I was talking about Joel and Ellie, but this scene is so much more emotionally pungent in the show. Since Joel is being overcome with the fear of not fully being able to take care of Ellie, and seeing him break down here was so saddening. And I love how Craig Mazin actually commits to this scene because before Joel starts recapping the events of what happened, they cut to Ellie walking around the square. Initially, I thought they were cutting away like in Game of Thrones where Jon Snow is spilling the beans to his sisters, but here, we actually have competent writers to fully execute and nail the deep drama that was available. So thank you. I said it earlier, but the acting from Pedro is purely astounding. He honestly moved me to tears in this scene. And the fact that we go from this to the Joel and Ellie confrontation is a pure wombo combo, and probably floored everyone. The next year of the Emmys is going to be an insane battle between House of the Dragon and The Last of Us Alone. Overall, this episode was another home run for me, and it manages to hit a major emotional climax while having a great lineup of scenes. It nails the suspense, the drama, heartbreak, has a bit of action, heartwarming moments, and a moving ending that acts as a gut punch since we just saw the light at the end of the tunnel. The next episode seems to be predominantly flashback driven with Ellie, which I think is based on the DLC for the first game, so I wonder how people will treat that episode. I don't know if we're going to have another episode 3 on our hands in terms of audience reaction. Regardless though, thank you for watching and let me know what you thought about the latest episode of The Last of Us.